the synergy between what I do and what you do and what AI can provide, I think is just, limitless. And it's
Hmm.
been really fun to stretch my brain to, ask myself, how can we do these things better, faster, smarter, and in a way that we're really getting to the information that we need.
Hello there. I have the delight to be chatting with Rebecca Fisk today. Rebecca is from RH. RH is an upscale provider of furnishings. I'll let Rebecca introduce herself. Let me just say I'm Doug Newell. I'm the CEO of a company called Swarmalytics. Would you be so kind as to sort of introduce yourself and give a little bit about your background?
Sure. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me. I have been doing real estate law. I'm an attorney for over 20 years now. I started off as a litigator and then transitioned nicely into transactional work and leasing, primarily leasing, but basically all things real estate related on the transactional side. And I have not been with RH very long. It's been about 6 months. But I have been in the industry for quite some time, and I've kind of seen it all. I've lived through the ups and the downs and the, you know, uh, evolution of technology. And
Yes.
I have really been fascinated about the AI world and what we can do with it. I would say I am not an early adopter. I'm still exploring and I'm trying out different things. But the synergy between what I do and what you do and what AI can provide, I think is just, limitless. And it's
Hmm.
been really fun to stretch my brain to, ask myself, how can we do these things better, faster, smarter, and in a way that we're really getting to the information that we need
Yes.
and spending money in the right places.
Can you explain? Well, you're fairly new with the company, but I'm sure you inherited a legacy of how they've built it. I'm counting somewhere near 100 locations in the US. You've got locations in Canada. And interestingly, in Europe, the ones in Europe are spectacular.
Yeah,
You're
breathtaking.
on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. You have an estate in Oxfordshire in
Yeah,
England.
in Einheim.
You're in Brussels, you're in Madrid, and so forth. To start out with, how do you come upon these places?
Well, the interesting thing about the real estate approach, and our CEO is, quite a visionary. And I think
Yes.
what he does is, he really has his hands in the mix here. He's not a hands-off CEO, and he loves real estate. So we have the benefit of having the luxury of being able to explore these extravagant places that really are able to show the luxury brand that we are,
Yes.
and become an experience. The transition here went from kind of your standard retail mall location, which we still have some of those, to really an immersive experience with
Hmm.
a gallery idea and oftentimes restaurants.
Yes.
And
I
yeah,
noticed that in your Oklahoma location. I thought it was, again, brilliant that people walking through your store in order to get to the rooftop restaurant, and I'm
yep,
sure just based upon the affluence and so forth, I'm sure it's not a burger joint. I'm sure it's,
right.
a nice place.
It's really nice. It's still accessible, I would say, but everything is done to perfection. I mean, every detail that has been put into the restaurants and the galleries is down to the minutia, done with perfection and real consideration. And that leaves people scrambling at the last minute to make sure everything's perfect before we have our guests walk in and have that experience,
Yes.
which is a wild ride for each location because they are so extravagant, like you were saying.
You keep using the word experience, and that, I mean, I think that speaks to the strategy that your firm must be using. That this, many years ago and one house ago, I used to get your catalogs. and we bought from them, and that was fine. And in my mindset, it was okay, sort of specialty, but some nice stuff, and I'd get this and that from it occasionally. But now, both rebranding the name
Mhm.
and the Into experience, it sort of opens up a whole nother world for you.
It really does. And the transition, I'm sure I didn't live through the actual, restoration hardware to RH transition, but I certainly did as a consumer. And
Yes.
now while I'm here, I really see that transition coming to life and understanding who our target audience is, understanding what they want, what they need, how to bring in more people. COVID was a spectacular time for us as a company because people were literally trapped inside or hosting outside a lot more. And so our outdoor furniture was, a huge component of success. And there's just a lot of thought behind how we want to deliver that, like you picked up on that experience to people. Because when you're spending your hard earned money on quality furniture, you want it to last, you want it to be a statement piece, you want it to feel good about it. And
Yes.
I think they execute that really well. And part of it goes to the real estate. Back to your core is it's really about the real estate and the locations and where we think our consumers will be. And back to your data that you come up with, like where will they be in 10 years? How will this shift? How do we stay in front but not too in front? We
Yes.
don't want to
Yes.
lag.
We do that. We were doing an analysis at one point of, I think it was Dayton, Ohio, and we turned it into a visualization, and it showed rings on a tree. We just colored them based upon and it's like, wow. And this turned into a whole product line for us in that predicting where somebody's going to move, where the next hot suburb's going to be or
Hmm.
whatever. And yeah, we start with everybody in the country, and then we figure out where they're going to be a year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years, and so forth. Yeah.
Are you seeing big shifts in that, or are you seeing small incremental
Well,
moves?
it depends on how microscopically you look at it.
Hmm.
If you look at parts of Florida or around Austin, Texas, or something, then it seems to be almost explosive. But on a national basis, unfortunately, there's no explosion going on in the state of Maine.
Right, right.
They're lovely communities there on the water and blah blah blah, and Vermont is actually losing population and so forth.
Hmm.
So it depends on what scale you look at it. But fortunately, again, we start with everybody. Uh, a monthly basis, we score all homes in the United States as to their likelihood of moving, and we put a price tag on them, which I've got to believe I'm probably talking to the choir here, in that you seem to have a pretty good idea of who your customer is. Is that through research or customer files or both?
You know, I'm not on the broker scouting side of it as much. I definitely am in meetings and understand the strategy. The analytics that are behind it, and I've been with different companies that use different analytics, like, income based and education based, and all of those factors that go into understanding a community.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it. Where other companies are going to get the synergy of the dynamic between us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Synergistic companies is another factor. And I think the challenge is when you have such a big investment,
Yeah.
you really have to be selective, right? We are not going to be a Starbucks coffee that can be on any corner and pop up and
No.
close down quickly, right? These
Yeah.
are these are long-term leases, they're huge capital expenditures. The art and design that goes into each one is so bespoke. And so that's where that information becomes really critical because you're really
Mhm.
betting on that community long term.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have great in-house real estate people that have been
Mm-hmm.
doing this for a long time, really have a great understanding of our customer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we still continue to learn every day. I think, what works in certain places or making the tweaks or maybe this place would have been better with a restaurant. Maybe, let's see what we can do. And now the company is really looking at these more ecosystem where you have various different retail experiences that we offer. So there might be a smaller footprint with outdoor and another building that's either next door or down the street that has interior, or one that has design offering.
Right.
You can come in
Right.
and talk with somebody and really get a unique design for your particular home. So that's kind of the next evolution. And again, these are things that are public. It's a public company,
Yes.
but there's so much thinking that goes on and so much creativity that I
Mm.
love that they're really willing to take risks and go out there and do big things.
I wonder what the interaction is of, you've got stores in Nashville, and Nashville is a red hot area. And I'm wondering, do the catalogs drive people to the stores, or does the store experience drive them to the catalog when they're back
Right.
at their homes?
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. So our catalogs are not catalogs anymore. They are um,
showpieces.
beautiful magazines, prints.
Yes.
It's, really, it's one of those, you grab your coffee or your tea and you sit there, or your big glass of red wine in the evening, and take not 10 minutes to kind of thumb through it. You're
Yep.
really picking it up once or twice for an extended period of time and really noticing the uniqueness of each item, and they come up with new things all the time. So these catalogs, some people, you know, think they're overdone. They're very, very large, and there's a lot of work that goes into them. But to me, they're a work of art. They're really beautiful.
Seeing your locations in Europe, it's like, my mind starts wandering to other places like Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There are a few bucks in Rio, I can
Yep,
tell you.
yep. Middle East, Asia, there's a lot. I think we're really putting our heart and soul into Europe. We started in smaller markets, and now we're going to larger markets. It's a little
Yes.
different than some strategy that others may think would have worked,
How
but
old is your French location? Is that very new?
we are just opening Paris in a few months. I don't know the exact date, so that's not quite open yet. London, same thing. We're opening, and Milan, we will be opening. So those are just phenomenal locations that are really
Yeah.
exciting.
I hope your place in Munich is doing well. At one point in my career, I started a company in Munich.
Oh, wow.
Love the city, and I hope you're doing well there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think, it's Europe's not easy to do business in. It's,
No,
a
it's not.
challenging environment. So I think it's testing us in a lot of ways to be able to create efficiencies and understand, when you think about everything, there's the product safety, all of the laws per country, per
Yes,
EU, like all of those regulations. So I
that's
think
true.
what we want to do is do that well. And again, I don't know, but Gary, our CEO, just he has big ideas. So I have no idea what the future holds, but I guarantee it'll be pretty exciting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So you indicated that you have other people who sort of are tracking down leads on interesting properties and so forth. Can you tell me more about what you do day to day?
Yeah, so I do everything that's actually real estate related on the legal side. So
Okay.
I will negotiate the leases. I will review any contract that comes through. I negotiate purchase and sale agreements. We have some joint venture partners that I work with, some real estate related matters on that. Anything from remodels, construction contracts, locations, closures, openings, anything that touches property,
Yes.
I have the final eyes on the legal side of it.
How do you approach the negotiation side? Are there comps basically where you can say, okay, I'm in the Asheville outlet, and the comps for that are this and this and this and so forth, and you crunch a few numbers and
Yeah, so the business team does that, and then I step
Okay.
in after the LOI has been fully negotiated. I'll sometimes
Okay.
help. I'll sometimes help with making sure the language is capturing in a letter of intent what we want, and making sure if there's nuances that need to be captured early that we do that. But basically, once the LOI is done on the business side, I then take over, negotiate with the landlord or their council, and then, it morphs. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward. Other times, designs change or we have different ideas and the whole contract can shift and turn into a whole different idea.
Just when you
So
get it almost done.
always right there and then it changes. But, it's really fun because again, I've been doing this for a while, so I know a lot of the players in the real estate industry. I've learned a lot of ways to get them the best deal for the company, just, trying to be reasonable, understanding that these are long-term partnerships.
Yes.
I'm not going in and just trying to bat people over the head and, you know, get as much as we can, but really knowing that you're going to be in this property, and usually these are crown jewel properties, right? So people
Yeah.
really care.
Yeah. Is there any data or information that you might have that would put you in a stronger position or maybe make it more of a mutual success story for you and the people you're negotiating with?
Absolutely. When we go into places that have other tenants, like if we're going into a upscale mall or an outlet location where there's
Yes.
there's more of a retail development, there's definitely a partnership there because you're trying to find the right match of tenancies. And
Yes.
we have an upper hand if the building or the development is not totally full. And then, sometimes it's this domino effect where if we're there, then other people will want to go there. And then we might try to leverage that for rent or, work with different things as far as construction allowances and how much the landlord's giving to us because we're going to be making their building, beautiful. Um,
Hmm.
so there's a lot of levers that we pull to just make sure we're optimizing our position in the market, making sure, we're a public company, so doing the right thing for our shareholders, and just making the best real estate choices that we can.
You mentioned a few minutes ago, Europe can be a bit of a challenge. I lived there for a while in Germany, outside of Munich, getting used to their retail laws and so forth, which I found to be bizarre. But all of my German friends just took it for granted that the shops close at such and time
Yes.
and on such days and such. And every third day is some sort of holiday over there. Anyway, do you take that into account, sort of the local governance issues for the United States? I mean,
Mhm.
does Boston get some different consideration than Austin?
Yeah,
Boston and Austin.
I don't know if I definitely think there are certain markets where you're going to hit different challenges. I know it from a legal perspective. I've done legal work all over the world, and I definitely know the markets where you're going into New York, you know that you're going to have big fights about certain things with the landlords. It's just the way it is. Montreal, very challenging. Uh,
Really? Okay.
we're getting ready to open a new location in Montreal in a couple weeks. And, that is a very unique place to do business because they are doing a really lovely job for their citizens to maintain the French,
Culture. Yes.
Quebec character.
Yes.
Does it make it easy to operate there? Not at all. Everything has to be in French. Everything has different rules, hours of operation, like you were saying. You have to be closed by a certain time. It doesn't make sense to Americans because we just think, but you can make money during this time. Like, why wouldn't you stay open? But their lifestyle and preservation of who they are is really important. So we
Yes.
have to go in and really, be with kid gloves and understand that and have local counsel and local people advising us and making sure that we are not doing anything that would disrupt that relationship because there's a lot of government regulations there too. And we talk about what markets will either help or hinder the development of new locations. We also have, an outlet strategy that's newer to the company, and that's really
Okay.
exciting. It's more of just making sure that we have inventory moving and making sure that, they're in locations that won't take so much money getting one, giant table to an outlet
Yeah.
facility. And so there's a lot of strategy that goes behind that. And to your point, yeah, the cannibalization is a huge factor because certain markets can only hold so much luxury availability. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, what's your biggest problem?
Oh, it's a great question. I would say the understanding and balancing the challenges of opening new locations out of the country with all of the very particular regulations relating to those.
Yeah.
Safety standards, eco standards, France is on the cutting edge of a lot of environmental stuff. And so that's really exciting to be part of because that's where the world is going. But, it's something new to us to navigate and make sure that we're complying with all the laws. And
Would
so
you say your time is half sort of focused on Europe and half on the US, or?
I think that's pretty fair because I would say it's outsized. The Europe locations are outsized because of the complexity.
Yes.
So just for me, it's easier when I'm here. I know all of the laws here. In Europe, I really have to rely on local council and then talk to them about the things that we need, all the little nuances that protect us as a company and that we need that are different from others that maybe don't translate as well in other countries. So I would say that's probably it. And then a lot of construction work. There's a lot of changes and a lot of um, things that come up. Those resources, we run very, very uh, light on the amount of people in-house that work on things. And so, we're running really fast. Everyone's at capacity, and we're doing a lot of triage,
Are
which
you
makes it
an
fun.
individual contributor or do you have a team?
I have a small team, and possibly potentially growing because it's a constant in this company is real estate. And so I have the benefit of having the support by the executive team of knowing that, this is an important desk. And then I manage outside counsel too, which is, another job that is important. And I'm a hands-on person. I manage my team very hands-on, and I manage outside counsel very hands-on. And I try to make sure that, if anyone comes to me with a question, I'm familiar with it and can answer quickly and proficiently, which is not always easy. Every country is very different, and
Yes.
I love it. It makes life very interesting on a daily basis.
Are you promoting it? This may sound silly, but are you promoting it as a tourist destination?
That's a really good question. I think the goal is to have it, and I think this is how we are in England and various places. We would love it to be a tourist destination, but we also are promoting it to the locals. Like, this is something we really want the European person to really be part of their thought when they go to either have a meal or an experience or shopping. So I think it will be a tourist experience because it's familiar and the locations are just stunning. But our goal really is to have the community adopt us as well,
Yes.
and be part of that. Like New York was a little bit like that as well. We have some fabulous locations in New York, and New York can be tough. They want their very unique, cool, kitschy things, and
Uh-huh.
and a lot of neighbors that push back on things just because they can, and a lot of money and a lot of power. But it's been a fabulous experience in New York as well. So I think that is probably the closest
Got it.
to Europe as we could probably find here.
The reason I believe your stores are as successful as they are is that I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to, catalogs are great. You could give me a incredible experience on the internet, but I want to go in and touch it. And even better, if I'm going upstairs to grab a great dinner, with
Mm,
my wife and celebrating something, and it's like, why don't we get that? It
right,
would look
right.
so good, such a place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a museum meets shopping meets food and, celebration all in one. There's a lot you can do to just kind of have fun and explore. And for me, I'm super tactile, so and I think people are. So when you're looking to buy a rug, I mean, anytime I'm in one of the galleries, I'm touching everything. I just
Mhm.
it's so soft, such good quality because that's really where you can tell the difference if you're going to be spending the kind of money for these products. You can tell the difference. It's a really fun experience to be able to even the towels, you touch the towels and you realize the difference.
We come back to the experience. Where do you think the business is going? What do you think's next? Without giving away any
Right,
secrets.
right, right. Of course, of course. You know, I think that our CEO is just creative and will always be pushing boundaries, coming up with new things. I don't know. I'm not on the creative side, but I do think that the launch of a few of these locations in Europe are really going to be exciting and help us navigate next steps.
Yes.
And then, like I said, this ecosystem idea where we have different concepts in either connected or close to each other,
Mm-hmm.
where it's kind of, the RH family, where you can kind of get a little bit of everything in a more intimate environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's really fun. So I'm excited. I don't know.
You should
I'm
be.
excited.
I envy your job there.
Oh, that's so nice to say. No, it's fun. Fun.
You seem to be having fun. You're in a robust, healthy company doing new things, and it's clear that you respect your leadership a lot. Well, we're about coming to the end. I want to thank you for taking an hour of your time. I've learned a lot, an enormous amount about your company. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.